Hello there. What's up, everyone? This is A Certain Point of View. Wow, I'm just really doing a great job with this intro. Welcome to A Certain Point of View. I hope everyone is having a great day. So today, joining us, I'm really excited about tonight. This is going to be fun. We kind of planned this at the last minute because Drew is actually, he's reached a point in his schedule where he's free. And speaking of Drew, he's right here. What's up, man?
Oh, hey everybody, what's going on? I was just like copying the link, and you were like, "Drew's here," and I said, "Oh, I need to swap
Oh,
tabs."
you can still do that though. You should definitely still do that.
Yeah,
And
no,
then go ahead. What did you say?
I'm great. I'm just happy to be talking Star Wars.
Bro, we're glad to have you, and I know you've been super busy, super appreciative of you coming on.
Great.
And also, Drew's not the only one on tonight. We got Jessica. What's up, Jess? How's it
Hello.
going? Your mic was on this time.
Well, at first it wasn't, and then it was.
Oh,
Then
you
it
fooled
was.
me. You had me
Yeah.
fooled. Wow. All right.
Got my
Hold on.
big dog with me tonight. You
Nice.
can
Hey,
see
big
her.
dog.
Hey.
What the dog doing?
Looks like he is a little bit chilled out right now.
Yeah.
She is awesome.
Okay, let me really quick. Let me do a couple of things over here. And awesome. Oh yeah, I got to get into the comments over here. Okay, we got Jack. Jack Cornwall says, "What's up, guys and
Hey,
girl?"
Jack.
Jack, it's good to see you. Well, see your name. Um, y'all, I feel like it's been way too long. I feel like it's been way too long since we've gotten to do anything, and we really just took 1 week off. I think, right? Really? I think.
I think it was two.
Really? Yeah, I think you're actually right. Yeah, it does seem like it's been a long time, and so I'm really happy to be on with you guys tonight. Jack says you can't you can't see me. I'm John Cena. Uh, guys, tonight what we're going to be doing, I'm really glad to have you with us. And if you're listening to the podcast version later, thank you for listening. But tonight we are going to be just talking. We're calling it a Star Wars animation special tonight. And really what that is we just were kind of talking in the group, and Curry had the idea and unfortunately was not able to be with us tonight. But he had the idea, what if we just did an episode talking about like what effect the animated shows have had on the larger Star Wars galaxy, and like why they are relevant to the things that are coming up now in the future with Star Wars, and even like with the past movies, and why they are important to the overall universe of Star Wars. So I thought that was a great idea. I think it's going to be super fun. Thanks for the idea, Curry. Great idea. But first of all, let's just like go around. I want to hear how you guys are doing. Let's start with you, Jess. How are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. I'm tired, but I'm pretty good.
Nothing like a little Star Wars conversation to energize, huh?
Yes, yes. There's just been a lot going on, but
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm ready to talk about some Star Wars, and I love the animated shows, so this will be really fun.
Yeah. I am super pumped too. Drew, how about you, man? How are you?
Oh wait, I'm on the wrong tab. I'm great. I'm tired. I've been super busy, but like I've said before, this is kind of how I blow off steam and you know keep level headed. Well, one of the ways, obviously, but this is just one of my favorite ways to get some downtime and talk about Star Wars. And I'm very excited about this topic. So yeah, hopefully my internet service isn't too bad. I'm on like fake 5G. It says I have 5G, but it's like slower than LTE, and it's draining my phone battery. So I don't know what it is here, but yeah.
Well,
So
no issues so far.
cross the fingers.
We will see, I guess, huh?
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
I'm
who
great.
who knows? It's, at some point, I wouldn't put it past this stuff to just have me frozen. I don't know why it does that to me, but it does. But y'all, I've been really busy as well, but I'm also just like I've really missed having the podcast going every week. I feel like last few weeks we got a couple episodes ahead, and honestly, I feel like we all just needed a little time to just recuperate. I know Drew's been super busy, Jess has been super busy, but we have just been really, I have personally been just really missing talking about this stuff with you guys. So we got a couple of things planned. We got this one tonight. We have Josh and I at the very least. I think it might be Curry as well, but we'll see. But we have something planned for later on this week, and I'm really excited about it. I'm not going to talk about it right now in case it doesn't happen. But really excited about everything coming up with A Certain Point of View and Star Wars. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. If you're in the chat, please let us know that you're here. And also go and subscribe to the podcast. Y'all, I want to ask a favor, actually. And I'm going to ask this later on, maybe when there's more people too. Actually, I'm just going to wait. There's not many people just yet. I'm going to ask a favor later, but I will wait for later for that. But y'all, if you are in the chat, please go and share the link to this, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or whatever. Please go share the link to this so that more people can see that we're doing this, and just invite some people in. We want to get some new folks in here and get some conversation going in the chat. And how that's going to
real quick.
What?
Let me go promo real quick.
Yeah. And some just so y'all know how it's going to kind of work tonight is we'll definitely interact with the chat here at the beginning, but when we get into the main part of the conversation, we are going to make sure the conversation is just between the three of us for the most part. But please leave your thoughts in the chat so that and with the context of what we were talking about at the time, so that I will be keeping an eye on that as we go and marking, so I can come back to the most relevant topics or things later, so that because I want to make sure you guys are a part of the show at the end as well, because a lot of times we get some really great insight from the chat. So we definitely want that to be happening. So I think all of that is out of the way. All right. So have you guys shared it and all that?
Yeah. I don't know why I answered so weird, but yeah, I did.
Yeah. All right. Let me actually really quick share this thing one more time.
Wait, Drew's not allowed to sing on the podcast. Sorry, everybody.
You are always allowed to sing.
Okay.
You're like, you have no idea what you've unleashed.
Remember what Hagrid always says? I shouldn't have said that.
Shouldn't have said that. Okay. Guys, first of all, I want to open this question in the chat. What is your favorite Star Wars animated show? Okay. In the chat, I have asked a question, and I would love y'all's input on this. What is y'all's favorite Star Wars animated show, and kind of like what is the history of your relationship with those shows? And that's kind of where I want to talk. I want to kind of start with us talking about what our relationship with the animated shows is, and kind of when we started watching the animated shows. Did we start when they were on the air? Did we catch up later? And then what kind of the overall impact they had on us as Star Wars fans, and how we view them in the larger context of the Star Wars galaxy. So Drew, let's start with you, man. When did you start watching the Star Wars animated shows, and what did you start with? Which one was it, and all that?
I was late to the animated stuff, and it detracted from some enjoyment of some things, such as some stuff from Rogue One,
Solo,
and some other stuff here and there, and Solo for sure. That was a massive one. I was a little late to it. I think it was in 2019 or 2020 when I started watching Clone Wars for the first time, and it was so good. And I was mad at myself for being late to the party, and I went straight from Clone Wars into Rebels, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so mad I was also late to this party. And I was also mad because there was something that happened. Well, the Darksaber reveal at the end of Mando season 1. I hadn't seen Rebels yet or Clone Wars at that point.
Oh wow.
And I was like, oh man, I was like, I really like I missed out on how way cooler of a moment that would have been. So, like I said, I was late to the party, but I went Clone Wars and then Rebels, and then obviously I was like week to week watching the Bad Batch when it came out, and I really, really enjoyed the Bad Batch. Uh, I wouldn't say more than the average person because most everybody enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it maybe a little deeper than some people I talked to. I know I'm a little off topic here, but like I said, I was definitely late to the party, and it wasn't until kind of the end of 2019. No, sorry, it was 2020, like January, February, when I actually started watching the animated stuff, and yeah, I was late, and it was really good. So sadly, I don't have any like really cool history with it, but normally when I dive into something, I dive into it in a very intense manner and like go all in, and that's what I did with this. So it feels like I've watched it for years because I just enjoyed it that much.
That's great, dude. And that's pretty funny because I wasn't too far ahead of you catching up with the animated shows. I don't know if you remember, but I mean, it was pretty much like right around the time The Mandalorian came out is when I finally finished the Clone Wars, and I don't even know if I had finished Rebels just yet. I don't even think I had. So like for me, and I'll just go ahead since I'm already kind of talking, but for me, I started basically, I was super late to the party too. Josh, my brother, had been telling me for years, dude, you need to watch this show, The Clone Wars. It is awesome. And I always thought that the animation looked kind of weird because I only really saw the animation part from the early seasons, and I always thought this looks weird. I don't know if I'd like it. It looks kind of like unfinished animation, you know what I mean? Like cheap animation or whatever. And so I just never it never looked like something that I would really enjoy all that much. And so I just didn't I was just like, I'll just stick to the live action movies. And at some point, I don't remember even why, I think Ben just kind of told me like so many times, you just don't know what you're missing. I think the final straw was when The Last Jedi came out, and I'm sorry, not The Last Jedi. It was that year when Solo came out, and at the end of Solo, when Darth Maul comes in, I was like, "What? Why is Darth Maul here?" And Ben had to tell me, "Yeah, dude, he's alive because of what happens in the Clone Wars." And I was like, "Okay, well, now I have to watch." So I think that was kind of the ultimate thing that kind of finally pushed me into watching the Clone Wars. And um, it was hard at first for me to get through the first little bit, but I think it was once season 3 hit and we got to like the Night Sisters and Mortis and like all that stuff, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm in. Yeah, this show is amazing, and I just like blew through the rest. And then I watched Rebels, and Rebels for me was something that I wasn't sure if I would like because I knew the animation was way different. I was used to the Clone Wars animation at that point. And so I actually really ended up loving the Clone Wars animation. And then when you look at Rebels, it's just way different. You can tell there's less of a budget because that's actually one of the reasons why Rebels existed, because Disney canceled the Clone Wars when they bought Lucasfilm, and they started a cheaper animation show. But it still, I found that right away I was actually really hooked onto these characters from the very beginning of the show. I felt like this actually started stronger than the Clone Wars did, and they did a better job, at least for me, of kind of introducing us to these core characters and making us care. I cared about this group right away in that 2-part premiere, and absolutely loved it. And as it went further on, I began to realize these shows aren't just like, these aren't kid shows. These are shows that are emotionally impactful for me, especially with some stuff, and I'm sure we'll get into it later. Some of the stuff that happens in Rebels that near the last couple of seasons is just, it's beautiful. It's heartbreaking. It's emotionally heavy. And so it's some of the best Star Wars out there. And And then we have the Bad Batch as well, which I liked way more than most people do. I feel like a lot of people are just kind of on it, or
Oh, I loved it.
I know you do. Me and you both, and I think Drew said he is too. But we tended to be very positive on the show here. But I know a lot of the fandom. There were people for sure that really loved the show. But I found that most people I talked to that I knew not on Twitter, most people were just like, it's good, it's fine, it's cool, but I personally loved it, even in like, it has a similar format to The Mandalorian. It's a lot of episodes. There's the banger episodes for sure, that are kind of connected to the more overarching story, but there's also smaller, more confined episodes to one or two episode arcs or whatever. And I loved those. The vast majority of the time. There was a couple that are a little less of a hit for me, but I really loved that show, and I ended up being really emotionally connected to most of the Bad Batch as characters. And so for me, Star Wars animation has made me a much deeper fan of the Star Wars universe, and I'm so glad I finally got over my I don't know if the animation stuff is for me. It's not even like I'm an animated fan. I love Pixar, I love Disney. I just didn't know how I would like Star Wars in animation, and it turns out that it's amazing. So, but yeah, that's me. Jess, what about you? What is your relationship to Star Wars animation, and how did it affect your fandom?
Well, I think I actually watched Clone Wars and Rebels before you guys did. I don't know about Curry, but you and Drew.
I feel like Curry was watching when it was on TV.
Yeah. So I didn't watch it while it was on TV, but I watched all of Clone Wars when it was on Netflix, and then watched Rebels on like Disney XD or whatever, and then watched all the new season of the Clone Wars on Disney Plus, and then like rewatch it there, obviously. But so I was able to watch all of it before Solo, and I was so glad that I did. And I don't even know what it was that got me wanting to watch it. I think I was just like probably having like a really down day, and like turned on Netflix and was like, what's on here? Oh, there's a Star Wars like, I don't even think I was aware for a very long time that there was Star Wars animated series. Like I just didn't know. Like I've always loved Star Wars, but I've never really been like super deep into it until recently. And I think that all kind of starts from me watching Clone Wars and getting more into like stories outside the movie, and immediately watched Rebels after, and loved that. I do really enjoy the Bad Batch. I have not watched Star Wars Resistance. That's the only one
Same.
that I haven't watched, and I feel like it is geared a little bit more towards children. But I still want to watch it though, because I love animation. I love watching kids shows still. Like, like I'll watch anything, like especially if I just need something that's like not, I don't know, something that's going to be depressing or whatever. Like most Star Wars animation I can still watch. I mean, like some of Rebels gets really dark and some of Clone Wars is dark. So there's like some episodes that I'm like, if I'm in that place, like I'll be like, okay, this is not an episode for today. But I love and I think Clone Wars has been my go-to like background show too. Like I just turn it on and I just have it on and I love it. But I don't know. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, like we wouldn't have some characters like Ahsoka Tano if it wasn't for.
About to say you wore the perfect shirt for tonight.
Yeah, my friend Mallory got this for me.
That really is an awesome shirt. I love that.
I have.
Thanks. I think it's from her universe. I don't know if it's still on the website or not, but I know they're having a big sale right now. So
I have a shirt that after I lose enough weight, it's like different clone troopers and Rex is in the middle of them, and
oh, I
he's
love
posed
it.
up like this with his guns, and it's the music video like Bohemian Rhapsody, and it's called Camino Rhapsody, and I
Oh
have
my
that shirt,
gosh,
and I
that's
cannot wait to wear
amazing.
that.
That's actually amazing. I love that.
I cannot wait to wear that. I'll wear it. I'll wear that shirt out. I cannot wait.
I love it.
Yeah. And that's something for me too, that I have not watched Resistance except for like the first 6 episodes, I think. And honestly, it's not bad. It's not like it's bad at all. It just hasn't grabbed me yet. And it definitely is more targeting children for sure. Even then, like if you watch the beginning of the Clone Wars, by the way, I just finished my Rebels rewatch. Like last week, I started the Clone Wars today, and I'm doing it chronologically. And so chronologically, if you watch the beginning of the Clone Wars, it doesn't start off. It starts off not as refined as it gets to be later, but it starts off intense, and it's not childish at all. There are some things in the Clone Wars that are more kid friendly or whatever, but as a whole, I don't view the Clone Wars as a children's show at all. Resistance
Not
is
like a young kids for sure. Like there's some
no.
stuff that's like so dark. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, this isn't
When
a
you get into
kid
the
show.
when you get into the
Quote
Mortis
unquote
stuff,
air quote kid show.
yeah, when you get into the Mortis and the Night Sisters, that like dark magic, and like you get into like the Mandalore stuff with Maul like beheading people, and like it's real. Like it's not a kid's show. It really isn't. And
Violations of war crimes, PTSD, war profiteering, terrorism.
Yeah,
I mean,
these are not kids. These are not kids' themes. Okay, the Resistance is much more built toward the younger audience, and I, by the way, I think that's great. I think Star Wars should have that variety. Absolutely. Now, I think there'll be a day or like a time period here soon where, like, for me, as a dad of a 4.5-month-old baby right now, we do watch a little bit of children's TV with him, even though he doesn't really know what's going on. He just likes the colors. We've been watching like Winnie the Pooh and stuff like that. But at some point, I'm gonna be getting really tired of that, and I'm gonna be like, you know what? Let's watch the most kiddie Star Wars thing that we can watch, and I'm gonna put that show on, and I'm gonna finally just do it, because I have heard it's only 2 seasons, I think, but I have heard that it gets pretty good at points, and I do want to see it. And so, but yeah, anyway, I think Resistance, unfortunately, it does seem to get the short the short straw here all the time when we talk about Star Wars animated shows. But man, I Jessica, you kind of said something a minute ago that kind of got me thinking. Like, one of the great things about these shows is that, you know, with Star Wars movies, you have to make the time commitment, and you have to be in a certain place and a frame of mind to watch a whole movie. Even if you put it on the background or whatever, you have to have a certain amount of time. And one of the great things that these shows do is, once you've seen them all, like for me, there are times where I'm like, you know what I want to do? I don't feel like watching, like, as much as I love it, I don't feel like watching Empire Strikes Back right now. I don't feel like watching The Last Jedi right now. I just want to watch a fun Star Wars story. I think I'm going to turn on the clone the training arc at the beginning of the Clone Wars, where it shows the Domino Squad forming, and we learn about, like, and I'm trying to remember that specific name of that arc, but it's where we meet Rex, and we meet, like, I think we meet Fives, and like we meet this crew that we eventually start to know all of these characters really well eventually, and it's just like, it's basically Star Wars Halo. That's basically what it is, and it's just one of those fun things. Or I mean, this isn't a cartoon or an animated show, but like The Mandalorian, I'll just turn on episode that's just a fun Star Wars adventure. I feel like these animated shows are kind of like that. You can turn on, you're not in the mood for a specific story that's in the movies. There's a whole ton of types of stories that are in the shows that are different from the movies. That it's like you want to watch a really intense like Game of Thrones like type intensity Star Wars story. Let's watch the end of that Mandalore arc with Darth Maul taking the throne and killing Satine. Let's watch that stuff. Or do you want to watch a just really cute, fun, enjoyable arc? Let's watch the droid arc before that. Do I want to watch some more like the beginning of the rebellion? Let's watch some of the Onderon arc from season 4, where we meet Saw Gerrera and his sister Stila. There's just totally different vibes. Do I want to watch a kaiju type story in Star Wars? Let's watch the Zillo Beast. Like,
yeah, we do
right,
want to watch
Drew?
that. Yeah.
That was just for you, Drew. I knew that was for you.
Yeah, sorry. I hate that
Jessica on my
episode.
computer. Bad you. I nearly wore my Godzilla shirt, but it was
Like
wrinkly.
literally now, because I've seen Clone Wars so many times, I like skip those now. I really don't like them.
You know what? I don't like.
You.
I know. I'm sorry. I have
Dogs.
a hard time with that. Like, I'm not a big King Kong person either. Like, I just don't like. I feel
Jess.
sad for the monster.
That's the point of these beloved monster movies.
I don't like it.
I am somewhere in the middle. Like, Curry keeps trying to get me to watch King of the Monsters, Godzilla King of the Monsters. He texts me like all the time and asks if I watched it yet, and I'm like,
I'm gonna start doing that too.
oh God. And my answer is always the same. No, because I don't want to. Like, I tried to like them. I don't dislike them. They're not bad. I just don't care. And I'm glad you care. I'm glad you care, but I don't. When I think about
Sorry, Drew's face is just killing me.
when I think about this franchise, I'm just like, I don't have any feeling whatsoever. I'm very extremely neutral, which is almost worse than hating it probably to you. I don't even know. I don't know if would it be better if I hated it, Drew?
No, because neutrality still means there's a chance. Hatred is like me. Like, no, like hatred is hatred.
Yeah.
And it leads to the dark side.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah,
But-
I just feel bad for the Zillo Beast, so I don't.
I understand. I do too, but I like that. I like that arc. To kind of get back on Drew's good side here, I actually really do like that arc a bit. It does seem
fun.
it's totally a
How is it
day
fun? That poor thing did nothing wrong.
I mean, neither did the clones that Pong Krell murdered.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
not
know,
necessarily. That's not a
sad
fun
one
arc.
too.
No one calls that a fun arc. But anyway, my point is like you can take the Star Wars does these like homages to Star Wars. That's one of the great things about Star Wars. It is so many things. It takes things from westerns, from kaiju movies and serials, and it takes things from like old Kurosawa films and
Jaws.
and Jaws and all of these things. It takes the Godfather. There are so many things that Star Wars pays homage to, and even like has specific episodes or storylines that are so mirroring that stuff, but in a Star Wars way. And I think the animated shows do that. I think the animated shows do that really great. And so someday I might be just thinking like, I want to watch Star Wars, but I don't really want to watch a movie. I think I want to watch this arc. I think I want to watch that arc. And it's just literally like a 2-episode, 3-episode commitment from me. And it's perfect, right? So I'm putting y'all on the spot here. We'll start with Drew. What when you're in that mode and you're like thinking, I know I want to watch Star Wars, but I don't know what I want to watch. I want to watch a certain type of story. Is there an arc of the Clone Wars or Rebels or the Bad Batch that kind of gets you like in that mode? That kind of like you lean. What are your favorite ones that are go to rewatch arcs?
Mortis.
Oh, that's a deep one.
Yeah.
Can only watch that. I've only watched that one a couple of times.
Siege of Mandalore.
Mm.
All the stuff with oh gosh. I'm blanking so hard. Whenever
it's
Maul
hard.
organizes all the into the syndicate, what did he call that again?
Oh, the oh God, the Crimson Dawn.
No, not Crimson Dawn. He was like called something like this, like something syndicate.
Black
Or
Sun?
am I nuts? But all that stuff from Maul gets all the people together. I know that's part of
That's
part
season
of
5
Mandalore.
stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love the Yoda arc from season 6
Oh
deeply.
yes.
Because of A, Qui-Gon, B, making Darth Bane canon, even if he looks like Shredder. Oh gosh. The first Bad Batch arc they did in season 7 before the show, that was a good one. Clone training, things like that. Not the droid arcs. Stuff that's Ahsoka centric is always really good.
You do not like those ones.
No, I skip those. Me and Brooks, I think, are both like equal level haters on that.
It was hard for me too, man, when I was first watching.
Yeah.
It really is hard.
I've not went back and watched anything with Bad Batch yet. But I'm doing a full Rebels rewatch with Holly because she's never seen Rebels and she kind of wanted to, and I was like, well, if you like Rebels, we'll watch Clone Wars together. So I've not really picked anything up from Rebels that I want to like super go back and watch, but I'm sure there's going to be some stuff. If I thought about it, there would definitely be more from Clone Wars that I'd go back and rewatch. Onderon's a good one. Zilla Beast. I don't want to take all the good ones, but
no, that's great though. That's exactly.
I've definitely named some top tier ones though.
Yeah. Jess, what about you?
I wasn't on mute. I thought I was, but I wasn't. I love those. Obviously minus the Zillow Beast. It's not one of my favorites. But I love the one where like the gathering, and I think it's season 5 when Ahsoka takes all the younglings to get their kyber crystals. Like I think there's 2 or 3 episodes in that arc.
Great one.
That is such a good one. And then I also love the one with the bounty hunters when they're doing like that competition to try to get the job. And I think Obi-Wan's undercover.
Yeah. The deception. I'm trying to remember. Hold on, I can tell you right now. I have it all in front of me. Yeah, the box, the box, and the one where Obi-Wan like fakes his death and goes undercover. That one, that arc is so great. I also just
love everything with Ventress's backstory.
Yes, absolutely.
Too.
Ventress is so good.
Yeah.
What about like Rebels or the Bad Batch? Does any of those stand out in your mind?
I haven't watched the Bad Batch enough to like think of like specific ones. I don't think I need to rewatch that. Rebels is so hard. Like all of this is so hard because I don't really pick out different stories and watch them individually. I rewatch the whole thing.
I understand
so that's like I think I've watched Clone Wars like 4 or 5 times at this point because like I just start from the beginning and I rewatch it. But right now, like I'm just thinking of some of my favorite like Rebels episodes. I love the one that Leia's in it and she just like completely is like, well, I don't know what happened. It's your fault that these ships keep getting
so
stolen,
good.
not mine.
That a few nights ago.
That's such a good episode. I love the one where they're trying to get where they go and they're looking for the Maluran fruit or whatever. Yes. That one's so good. Anything with Bendu is amazing.
Twilight of the Apprentice.
I don't know. I
Course.
think some of my favorite Star Wars is in Clone Wars and Rebels. Like the whole lightsaber battle with Ahsoka and Maul and the Siege of Mandalore is,
Mandalore.
I think, I can't talk, is I think one of my favorite lightsaber battles, like hands down in Star Wars. It's one of my favorites. And then in Rebels, when Ahsoka finally gets to confront Darth Vader, that episode is just so incredible. And when she like slices his helmet and you can hear him say Ahsoka, like,
Oh my gosh.
it's just,
Yes.
it's so good. That's one of my favorite episodes. It's such a hard one. It's not one you just want to watch all the time, but oh my gosh, it's so good. So some of my favorites probably always have to do with Ahsoka, but
Right.
it's just like, I feel like if people are saying they don't want to watch it because it's animation, like they're missing so much good Star Wars. Music,
agree.
writing, character development, stories, world building. It's all in there and it's all so good. And I'm sure some of these people watch some sort of quote unquote adult cartoon. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure somebody watches some other cartoon version of some kind or enjoys Pixar movies or whatever. So if you can watch any of those, like, you can watch these Star Wars animated series. Like, no, there's not going to be any adult humor or whatever like that in it because it is Star Wars animation and it is geared more towards kids, the younger generation versus adults, but it is still made for adults. If you can watch Ice Age and it's such a classic and enjoy it, or Shrek or something like that, like
What are you doing in my swamp?
yeah, like, I'm just like, you can watch this, and if you love Star Wars, you're going to love it. So I just don't understand the argument. Unless you hate animation, period, of all kinds and forms, then maybe you have a valid argument. But if not, I don't really feel like you have a good argument for not watching them.
Yeah. Again, I think you're right on there. It's like you like what you like, right? You can't force yourself to like something, but like if you I always hate like if people just say no without even trying something. Like if you watch an episode of the Clone Wars and you don't want to keep going, I totally get it. I totally understand that. But like
you have to watch more than one episode.
Like I would, but like the vast
and
majority
you have
of people
to watch more than just a movie, because I do not really love the movie, and that was hard. Watching that made me go, oh, so I really want to watch this series. Right. And then I started watching it and I was like, okay.
The great thing about that show is you could show someone, if you wanted to show someone an episode of that show, it's all out of order anyway. Like you can literally show someone an episode, like you could show someone any of that Mandalore stuff and they would be like, okay, so this show is awesome. And then you could be like, okay, yeah, so that's one story in the Clone Wars. Here's all of these. And then maybe start from the beginning now. But not everyone's like us, like the vast majority of people are like, that if they just don't think they'll like it, they don't even try it. Like, or they'll try one episode. If it doesn't stick with them, it doesn't stick with them. For me, I have to give a show like multiple episodes before I decide if I'm out. But it drives me crazy though when people don't even give a thing a shot. Like they just decide right off the bat, animation's just not for me. Which again,
but
I guess you're
they
right.
Probably watch some other animation.
Maybe, but some people just don't. Like I have a friend who doesn't watch anything animated, and he just doesn't get anything from the stories, and he doesn't like it as much. He doesn't connect with it.
And that's fair. Like
it
if
is
you
fair.
Genuinely do not like animation and you don't watch any, Like I get that you wouldn't like it. But if you're just saying you don't want to watch it because it's Star Wars that's animated and you like other animation, to me that is just a stupid cop out and you should try it.
Right. It's like I'm with you. Like to me, that is a stupid cop out too. But at the same time, I do understand. I do understand at least having a bias and letting that affect your decisions. I generally try to, as a movie fan and as a Star Wars fan, I tend to, like, I have kind of almost trained myself to, if I have a bias against something that's coming out, I'm still going to give it a shot. But not everyone does that, and that's okay, you know?
And see, I wouldn't have gotten into wanting to read Star Wars books if I didn't get into the animated series, because
right.
It's kind of like it's like there is some version of Star Wars outside of the movies that is like your starter drug almost, in a sense, you know, like whether it's reading comics or playing video games or watching the animated series or reading books, whatever it is, there's something that's going to show you that there is more than just the movies out there. And I think that once you kind of get a taste of that, you just want more stories. And that's definitely what happened to me. I was like, oh, there's this great Star Wars content that's also in books. Okay, I want to read that, you know? And so I'm not getting all into like legacy and all of that, because I just will get confused. I feel like I want to know like what is.
Oh, you mean Legends?
Legends, yeah. Sorry.
That's okay.
Like all the Legends. I haven't gotten into that. Like I can see at some point me reading some of the Legends stuff. But I don't know. It's just right now I'm trying to focus on the stuff that's canon. And so except I played Knights of the Old Republic before they said that was going to be a remake. But
right.
That is soon to be canon. Just let you know.
I know, and I'm so excited.
And we all know how it went when I tried to play it again. You guys, I can't do it. That game sucks.
I can still feel
the controls,
the anger from your messages.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So I'm just like, I am not great at video games. If I can play that game, I feel like anybody can play it.
The controls make zero sense, and I don't like games that you have to like. I like action games where when you're fighting someone, your action it's reacting right then, and you're fighting them, and your moves are right then, instead of having to go, okay, they're doing this, I'm going to go to a menu, and then I'm going to select this thing, and then I hate that. I hate that with a burning passion. Maybe it's because I played
it on the phone, and it's a little different on the phone.
Maybe. And I've just decided I'm going to watch the cutscenes on YouTube. I'm not even going to try it. Ben has told me, by the way, I'm sorry guys, just a quick little aside here. Ben has told me he's going to lend me his PS4 so I can play Fallen Order, because that seems like the game that I would probably like more.
You will love it.
That type of game, I think I can see getting into that more, because it seems more like a normal, like, combating game.
This is such an
I'm sure there's different things to it
with video games, but is that just on PlayStation, or is it on Xbox as well?
It's on lots of stuff. Yeah.
Fallen Order.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure there's things about it that aren't that the same. But to me, it's all of the. I think it's just the way that the controls were on KOTOR. It just was not working for me, and I just hate it so much. And it seems a little more straightforward on Fallen Order, from what I understand.
It is. You'll have to learn a few mechanics and how to play here and there. Like, bump down the difficulty and don't rush your first opponents. Like, literally, first few minutes of the game, like when you finally get your lightsaber, like there's 2 stormtroopers and they murdered me, and I was like, they're friggin' stormtroopers. How hard is this? And I remember it's a defense counter based game. But when I first played KOTOR, I forgot how old it was when it came out. But when it came out, I was pretty young, and I never played any games that were like the RPG and kind of like the stacking attack queue type thing. And I actually had to have a buddy come to my house and like tutor me on how to do it.
Dude, I hate it so much. I couldn't do it.
It is tough. Yeah.
Couldn't even
I
get
don't
off the
blame
ship
you.
at the beginning of the freaking game.
And then if you don't know how to build your class either, as you progress in the game, everything just gets super hard because like if you don't know how to build your class on an RPG, that's tough.
The last time I played it, I was like, I don't think I've ever been this powerful before. Like I finally like really get it, and so I played it, and it was like I wasn't even off the first planet, and I was like, I don't even think I was this powerful at the end of the first time I played this game. Like everything was so easy.
Well, that sounds. I'm really happy for you.
Oh, thanks. That sounded so genuine.
Me and Curry for sure can help guide you through Fallen Order as far as like the mechanics and the play of the game and stuff like that.
Yeah,
you'll love the lore of the story, the cutscenes, the stories it tells, and the way it uses the Force as a cool mechanic in the game or like kind of device in the game is really cool.
Yeah.
So like in every video game you level up, right? And
what?
you select in every video game you level up.
Yeah.
And like you grow more powerful in the game. They use Cal Kestis, like he's cut himself off from the Force so he can't be discovered. And his connection to the Force is slowly healing. And through that he has flashbacks. And that's how you level up in the game. It's like
that's pretty cool.
Your connection to the Force and you're not it's kind of like Luke
it's
with
kind of
Grogu.
like a second Kotar then.
It sounds really cool, like character wise too. Like that hooked me because of what it sounds like it's doing for the character, which I think is probably why that really sounds cool to me.
I think you really like it.
Yeah. Okay, so back to the other stuff. Sorry. No, you're good. I went on the tangent. So for me, when I think about stuff in the Clone Wars or any of the animated shows that I watch, the last few, the last couple times I've rewatched these shows, which I've rewatched both the Clone Wars and Rebels a few times now, and I've rewatched bits and pieces of the Clone Wars like more than a few times, and I've rewatched the Bad Batch already. I've rewatched the whole thing, and it's still awesome. And but what I realized this past time rewatching everything was, yeah, the episodes like Twilight of the Apprentice and like, the Siege of Mandalore and like, the Mortis arc, all those big, deep, emotional, plot moving episodes are awesome. Like they're amazing. All-time great Star Wars stories. But what I really have found is an appreciation for the smaller stories in Star Wars. So like when I think about, like, if I just want to go on a little Star Wars adventure, I want to watch the Wookiee Hunt episodes in the Clone Wars. I love those. Nobody talks about them, but I love those little stories. I mentioned it earlier, but the Onderon arc where we meet Saw and Steela Gerrera, and Ahsoka kind of helps Ahsoka and Rex kind of help train basically the beginnings of what turns into the rebellion later, or at least a cell of the rebellion. And really, that's a really cool arc to me, and it's beautiful too. Onderon is such a gorgeous planet in animation, and I love that arc so much. And Jessica, you brought it up, the Gathering. It's called the Gathering, right? Is that what it's called? You're muted. You're muted.
There's 2 episodes, I think.
Yeah. So
one of them is The Gathering. Sorry, since
okay.
I normally don't have both dogs in here with me and they're both in here, I'm keeping myself muted unless I'm talking, just to make sure that they're not.
You're good.
Making
it's all
any
good.
Ruckus.
It is all good.
If you love the Gathering arc,
I do.
Just wait until about 3/4 of the way through Fallen Order.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to play it. I really do.
You haven't either?
No.
Oh
I'm
my
telling
gosh,
you, like
good.
okay, so the only Star Wars games that I've played growing up, because my parents wouldn't get me a game console. So I could play games on the computer, and I could find like video game version games for the computer and play them on the computer, but for some reason I couldn't have a game console. So I played all those games at any of my friends' houses or family members that had it. And so the only Star Wars game that I remember really playing a lot was the episode. I can't remember what it was called, but it was the game that came out for episode 1.
Racer.
No, it wasn't the Pod Racer.
Oh.
Just the Phantom Menace game, just on PlayStation
Yeah.
1.
This was on. I think it was on a Nintendo 64 game.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Gotcha. Well.
Anyway, but so I haven't really played a lot of those games, so I want to. Again, like I said, got into Star Wars animation, and I'm like, ooh, there's these other little things that have more stories, and I want to do all those things too.
Yeah, it's all connected. It's all connected in the Force, right? But little episodes like that, little arcs like that, I really like, just the smaller scale that don't have the big galactic implications, you know. I just tend to really love those. In Rebels, you know, it's a little different. You don't have the same format as you do in the Clone Wars, where you have these like 2, 3, 4 episode long arcs. You do have some 2 episode long arcs, but most of them are like, each episode is kind of a small story within the larger story of Rebels and what they're trying to do. It's a little more, it's a little bit more of a continuous story, even though each episode does end. Generally most episodes end with some finality and like the end of a little closed off story, which I love that style of television, by the way. And but like, so when Rebels is even better for this kind of thing, and when I want to just throw on an episode or like one Star Wars story in Rebels, I can just turn on one episode and I get like really fulfilled in that. And some of the ones that I go back to the most are, again, some of these smaller ones. There's some bigger ones too, trust me. Like, I love like the season finales are always like incredible. Twilight of the Apprentice, 0 hour, they're insane, they're amazing. But and then even like Jedi Knight is not one that I'm going to go back and rewatch a lot, where Kanan sacrifices his life, but it's one of the best episodes of the show. Twin Sons is one that I do rewatch a lot, by the way. That's one of the best.
Bring that one up.
Oh man,
I'm gonna bring that one up.
It's sorry. it's so good though. It's just unbelievably good. But I love the ones, there's one episode where Zeb and Callus get stranded on a moon, of like a frozen moon.
I love that episode.
It's called The Honorable Ones.
I love that episode.
Love that episode so much. It's really kind of the beginning of you seeing Callus turn, you know, because I'll never forget it. I just got chills. That episode really is amazing to me. It really does. Like, I remember, I'll never forget this. At the end of the episode, you know, they have this episode where they're kind of stranded together, kind of a buddy cop. These two have a buddy cop relationship, kind of. But they hate each other, sort of. But during this whole episode, they're realizing they have more in common than they realize. And they have more in common than they realize, and there's a lot of things that they just assumed about that person that aren't actually true. They just misunderstood, and it's actually great commentary for life. And I'll never forget, at the end of the episode, the ghost crew comes and they finally find them. You know, Callus hides because he doesn't want the crew to see him. He's just going to wait for the Empire to pick him up. But the ghost crew comes, picks up Zeb. They like welcome him with open arms. They're like so happy that they finally found him. And the Empire comes and picks up. It shows Callus later. It shows Callus at the end of the episode, and he's walking around on the ship, and no one could give a crap. Gives 2 cents that he's there. No one cares. And he says, he's like limping, and he's like clearly hurt. And he says hello to someone, and they just like basically brush him off, like, hey. And he goes and sits all alone in his quarters. And I'll never forget that part, because that was the beginning of the turn for Callus. And it's so powerful and such great storytelling. And yeah, God, it's so good. There's a 2 episode arc in season 1 Gathering Forces and Path of the Jedi, and it's like near the beginning of the show,
It's a
and
good one.
it's Ezra learning how to deal with with his emotions and how they're connected to the Force, and if he follows the wrong emotions, dark things happen. And I'll never forget, one of my favorite things about it is Kanan apologizing to Ezra because he says some I'm not gonna say the exact quote because I can't remember it, but it's essentially he apologizes to Ezra because he says, I haven't taught you everything you need to know. I didn't prepare you enough to do this. I am sorry. And I'll never forget that either, because you know, a lot of what we've seen from the Jedi before that, a lot of them are too proud to admit that they're wrong, that they've messed up. And Kanan became one of my favorite characters in that moment because he was like, I'm your master, I guess, but I didn't prepare you like I should have for that, and I don't have all the answers. I'll be honest with you, but let's do this together, kind of a thing. And it was this really powerful moment. And that kind of solidified early on that Kanan was going to be a special character for me. You got the Lost Commanders, the Lost Commanders arc, where I think it's in season 2, where we run into Rex and
Yes.
and them, like, and Wolf and Gregor. Such a great arc. I love that one so much. Trials of the Darksaber, amazing. Wings of the Master is this episode that not a ton of people talk about, but it's where Hera goes to this planet and she gets she's basically going to test out a new kind of ship that can help the rebellion out.
The P-Wing.
Yeah. And it's like this new type of ship, and only a master really can fly it, and it's on this planet that really only a master can fly on in the atmosphere because it's so dangerous and treacherous. And in that episode, you see, really for the first time, just like, I love Hera's character so much, and one of the things I love about her is that she is best in, like, her best is when she's flying. Her best is when she is in that space, and she's almost like mystically connected to flying, like to being in the air. Like, it's this thing that she feels like it's second nature. Like, walking isn't even comfortable for her like flying is. That's what you get this sense of in that episode. And you really see the master Hera at work in that episode, and you learn a lot about her character too. Again, one of these smaller episodes, not larger implications as far as the plot goes, but I think there's a common theme with all these episodes, and there's a common theme with, like, me and Star Wars in general. I'm not one of the Star Wars fans that gets, and by the way, I totally, like, respect and understand if you like, there are so many people that I know that are Star Wars fans that are just really interested in the lore of Star Wars, and the like even Drew, you and Curry, like, for instance, I know you guys are, like, really interested in the deeper lore and stuff, and even more, like, God, y'all are more even knowledgeable with like ships and stuff. Like, you just said the B-Wing. It's a B-Wing, and I was like, yeah, that one, the ship. Like, for me, this stuff is secondary to me, and it's very, very important to Star Wars. But for me, what makes Star Wars super beautiful to me and what I connect with is always character. And all of these little episodes aren't super, like, big as far as story goes, but they are big as far as character growth and these moments where we really, really get to know these characters on an intimate level. And that is a common theme for me in Star Wars and what I love so much about it. But gosh, I didn't even get into the episodes of the Bad Batch that I like. I love the Ryloth episodes. I like that everybody was kind of like iffy on. I love those episodes so much. I love the episode called Cut and Run near the beginning, where we see Cut and Sue, and we see Omega like touch dirt for the first time ever, and she's like, "What is this?" And Tech is like, "That would be dirt." I love that episode so much. It's absolutely gorgeous too. But these shows, these animated shows, like, you hear the excitement in my voice. I'm just talking about these cartoons essentially, and they're beautiful Star Wars stories. And like, I can't imagine, going back to what you were talking about, Jess, like having just strong bias against them before I even started, and not giving them a chance. Like, I get really sad thinking about me like never giving these a try. Like, I would be missing out so much on such good Star Wars and such good and powerful storytelling if I never tried them.
You can be biased without watching towards Jersey Shore or Euphoria, whatever. You can do that, but give Star Wars
or Godzilla. Right?
I was about to say not that. I will give you a mean look.
Ooh,
You are so
scary,
censored, right?
A mean look.
You're censoring yourself so hard right now. I love it so much. Sorry, I went on and on about those episodes that I love, but I
love those too.
Oh, they're
You
so
made me think of one though from Clone Wars.
Which one?
I can't remember the planet. I think it starts with a Z. And normally I'm like this planet, that planet,
exactly.
You're the Pablo guy.
Pablo Hidalgo.
I'm like the walking Wikipedia. Oh my gosh, I just did the thing from How I Met Your Mother.
Wikipedia.
Encyclopedia.
Encyclopedia.
I just did that like on accident.
The Renaissance Fair.
They go to the planet where they have the people enslaved, and like Anakin hits on the cat lady, and like Ahsoka has to trust him, and he like kind of like trades her off as a slave, and they free everybody. That it doesn't have like crazy implications. I mean, it kind of does, because it's a lesson in Ahsoka trusting Anakin, and then Anakin not long after that gets mad at Obi-Wan for not trusting him when he fakes his death. So that was good for Ahsoka and Anakin's development both.
Yeah, I love that. And that's one of the many times Star Wars has touched on slavery. In animation, no doubt. Like they've done that in the Bad Batch, they've done that in the Clone Wars, they've done it in Rebels, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like they did it in Rebels. Although I'm not. Yeah, I mean, anytime you're dealing with the Empire, you're pretty much going to touch on slavery at some point. Either the Empire is enslaving people, or they're like turning a blind eye to like bad people who are enslaving people.
They do it in Jedi Fallen Order, and you help save them.
There we go.
Non-spoiler, but it's funny. Let me get on a quick 43-second tangent here. Don't time me; I'll get stressed out.
43. Okay, go.
Us talking about Jedi Fallen Order and how it enhances Star Wars being a canon story and things like that. The shows are the exact same way. Now, as of right now, there's nothing really from Jedi Fallen Order that like you had to see, and it made you enjoy something so much more that happened on screen, other than the BD unit and one of those last episodes of Book of Boba Fett. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the same way. Like if I would have watched Rebels and Clone Wars before Mando season 1 and I saw the Darksaber, I would have been like, oh my gosh, like I would have like flipped out. But thankfully before season 2, I had seen everything. So like the Ahsoka stuff was super impactful and really cool.
Yeah.
And when they talk about Thrawn and things like that, I was like, there's so many good things in there, and the way it enhances, like they enhance one another. Like we talk about a lot of the time, people bash on the prequels. I'm off the tangent, by the way. We've moved on back to the animated stuff.
That was a seamless transition back on.
Thank you. I wanted to announce that the tangent was up and we're back to regularly scheduled.
You kind of ruined the smoothness, but it was still.
If I would have kept going, but technicalities. People bashed the prequels for the longest time, and then you watch the Clone Wars. It's like, man, those really enhance the prequels.
They do,
and it's so. And the storytelling's good. You can nearly there's probably I've talked to people who enjoy the animated stuff just as much or more than some of the movies, and they really, really get into the animated stuff. So, give it a chance, I guess, is my point here. I kind of went good and then lost the smoothness and then really just crashed off a cliff there.
No, you didn't. That was great. I love. Oh, I mean, dude, you're right though. Like some people, I've literally seen people like talk about how, like they're like my Star Wars is the Clone Wars. That's what introduced me to Star Wars, and I like it more than any of the movies. Like there are people that only watch those and they hardly watch the movies. More power to you. That's not me. Like I love it all. I rewatch the movies all the time, but I totally understand. We always talk about on the show. Everyone has their entry points into Star Wars, and no one should be faulted for what their entry point is or made to feel like an idiot for what their entry point is.
No gatekeeping allowed.
No gatekeeping here for sure. But I just I think if your Star Wars like journey started with the Clone Wars, that's actually amazing to me. Like that's so interesting. I want to talk to you about that. Like I want to hear your story with that. That sounds incredibly interesting to me. And that kind of brings up another, topic of conversation. I mean, we kind of been, never mind. Honestly, we've kind of been weaving in and out of this topic as like naturally as we've gone, but
seamlessly.
How like so seamlessly. But how stupid is the argument that animation is for children or like is only for children or that it's less than canon, like because it's a cartoon. I see people literally on Twitter that like, and specifically it's come up a lot lately because the question of is Maul going to show up in Obi-Wan, in the Obi-Wan show? Is Maul going to show up? And a lot of people are on the side that at least that I'm on. The side that I land on is he should not, in my opinion, because that would negatively affect what has already happened in the animated shows, and people will respond to that saying those aren't canon, those are just cartoons, and I'm like, well, actually, they are actually canon. You can't just decide what's canon. It actually like technically is canon. And also I don't understand the train of thought that animation is any less valid of a platform than live action. In fact, it's in some ways harder to do animation well. Like it's so hard.
People's animation.
Well, yeah. I mean,
except the Phantom Menace, which has the most
the most practical effects, the most practical, yeah. But yeah, I mean, to a degree. Obviously, those are still live action people and all that stuff.
I also would wonder if these people play video games because that's animation.
A lot of them do. I mean, I'm sure, but I think there's a distinction between some people just view live action as real and animation as not real, as in like not canon. So like they just don't take it as seriously. So like their argument would be like they just if they haven't seen it in live action, then it hasn't happened. It hasn't happened then.
That's dumb.
Where is that coming from? Like
I don't know.
Where did that train of thought begin?
It's not their Star Wars, Drew.
I mean, sheesh, like what? It's animation. It's
now
whatever.
I will say this. I will say this. This is an interesting discussion that we can have sometime. Is it wise for Lucasfilm to make all of these shows that are dependent on people knowing about things that are in the animated shows and not in live action? That's a debate that we can have, and that's a fair question. Like, for instance, what happened to me when I watched Solo and I saw Darth Maul just sitting there, and I'm like, hold on, what? I had to get someone to explain to me that in the Clone Wars he was alive, and to my knowledge he was dead. And so that's just an example. But someone like me, I was like, well, okay, I have to watch the Clone Wars. Yeah. So I did, because I love that. but not everyone is like that. And so like to me, is it wise to have so much that depends on it? I don't know if it is or not. It's a debate
I,
that we
Go
can
ahead.
have.
I mean, but at the same time, you were filled in. If you didn't want to watch it, you could look it up and see what happened, or someone told you, and you're like, okay, cool, that's how it happened. Moving on. I know why I'm missing that, but
Right.
I'm not going to watch this series.
Right.
So I mean, I think it's totally. I see it as a smart move for them because you have so much more cross marketing and
Oh
I
yeah.
mean just so much more potential to. I mean, let's not lie that this isn't about making money, but you've got
What?
so much more potential to
What?
have new version of toys and new versions of this, or you've got more to
Funkos.
expand upon. You can make, I mean, and also Star Wars loves taking little quotes and making huge stories out of them. I mean, so there's anything could be taken from those and
Yeah.
create a book out of, or a video game out of, or a movie out of.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much potential, and that's one of the things that I love about Star Wars is how expansive it can be.
Mhm.
And how big it's grown and how it can continue to grow. I mean, it's one of the things that I love always when I talk about Star Wars, like with my parents. My dad is always like, I can't believe that this is as big as it is, that there's so much,
Yeah.
and I think that's just, I don't know. I don't know. I'm fine with it. I don't have
No.
a problem with it.
Now, you're saying this. I completely agree with you. I'm just saying I get the debate. Like I get.
Yeah, I get
think
it.
it's a very
but
fair question to ask. Like, is this wise for them? I think you hit the nail on the head. It is wise for them because how many more people are watching the Clone Wars and Rebels now because of the Mandalorian and
if
the
it wasn't
Mandalorian?
going to work, they wouldn't do it. They
Yeah.
are able to pull all of that to see,
Mhm.
like when Clone Wars was on Netflix, I'm sure that Disney was able to get all of the data from that, like how many people watched it, blah blah blah, how many people watched it was it on Cartoon Network originally?
It was
Yeah.
originally.
So they can probably look at all of that and see, okay, now that we've added this, are more people watching these shows? And if more people are watching those shows, and so therefore more people, hate to say it, are buying more things,
Absolutely. No, it's
they're
real.
gonna continue with that. So I mean, I obviously it's working. I mean, I get the argument, but if it wasn't working, they wouldn't do it.
Totally. And to kind of even go deeper there, I I think that they're doing really. I think it's very wise of them. Not only that, it is also they're doing a good job with it because
Yeah.
aside from the solo thing, because the solo thing just hits you in the face if you don't know that Maul's alive. Um, for someone like me, I went back and watched the Clone Wars because of that. But for the vast majority of people, they were probably just like, "What?" and they didn't.
I mean, like I watched with my parents, and they were like, "Did he die?"
Right, and then
And
they
so
get.
I explained, and they were like, "Okay, cool," and that was it.
But a lot of people
like,
aren't
they're
going to go
not
back
gonna
and watch.
watch the animated series. Like that's just
Right, but so
not on
my
their
point
radar.
is that wasn't necessarily handled the best. It was cool now, like it's cool now, but it was kind of like, whoa, what? But in The Mandalorian, for instance, when they bring in a character like Ahsoka, I've talked to people who didn't watch the animated series who loved Ahsoka in The Mandalorian as a character because they built her well in that show as if people don't know who she is, but also made it to where the people who love Ahsoka from the animated series like still recognize this as Ahsoka. So and that's something the MCU has always done really well too. They make things that are accessible, even if this is not a popular thing to say, but you can jump in at any point in the MCU generally. Except for like Infinity War and Endgame or something like that, but like you can jump in. You don't have to watch Iron Man first. You can jump in and watch Ant-Man and have a great time, and you don't have to have seen the other 12 movies that came before it or whatever. because they do a great job of making single stories and kind of filling you in on what you need to be filled in on as if you don't know what's going on, right? But doing it in a seamless way. They've been doing that with these shows too. Like I said, with Ahsoka, and all that. So I think that not only are they doing a good job, I mean, not only are they doing the right thing, in my opinion, but I think they're doing it well. So, yeah. Anyway, animation is totally legitimate as far as a form of storytelling.
You know, I have a theory about Disney's issue with this. And I think it came to a head with episode 9. And this has been something that's on my mind. Well, not on my mind in a bad way, but episode 9, a lot of us read the Colin Trevorrow's Duel of the Fates script and how the original story was going to go with episode 9, and they kind of reworked the whole thing. One of the main points of that story was going to be going to the planet Mortis.
Yep.
And a lot of people wouldn't have known about that. Now, could they have done it well in the story? And we enjoyed it still. Yeah, like I would have seen him like, oh my gosh, a new Star Wars thing I need to go learn about. That's me. Holly, she has never seen, well, she's watching Rebels with me now in Clone Wars. When Ahsoka popped up, she's like, oh my gosh, Ahsoka's the coolest character ever. Buy me a Funko of her right now. I love Ahsoka. And she'd only seen her in one episode. So, but then there's some people who are going to be like, well, I don't want to watch that. Like I have a friend, I don't even think he's watched The Mandalorian yet. I'm just like, what are you doing? So it's a gamble, yes. But at the same time, it's very smart. And I think they're doing it well. But you don't want to draw too strongly. Like when I saw the Darksaber, would it have been cooler if I had seen it before and understood it? Yes. But at the same time that I think, holy crap, that's a pretty cool looking like lightsaber thing, and Moff Gideon's alive. That was the whole point of that.
Sure.
Ahsoka could pop up. Grand Admiral Thrawn is mentioned. And some people were like, where's Grand Admiral Thrawn? And half the people were like, who is Grand Admiral Thrawn?
Right.
You know, that
why is Grand Admiral Thrawn?
Yes. So you can do that and it's safe. I mean, to me, I didn't know Maul was alive. I mean, I knew he was, but I hadn't watched it. I was like, oh, Maul's alive in the cartoon. Apparently, I'd never watched it. And then he pops up in Solo. I was like, I really need to go back and catch up on this. But some people, I heard one guy in the theater was like, oh, I guess Maul's alive. That's weird. And I was like, oh, yeah. I mean, like learn about it, I guess. I learned about it. I didn't know at the time. Yeah. So I guess it's risk reward with how big of something you draw that people might or might not be familiar with. But I think at the same time, they are ushering people to their exclusive streaming site where you can learn about these things. And they're using that as a platform to tell and expand on these stories, and Star Wars fans are eating it up. I don't accuse them of, like, some people are like, oh, they're just doing this for money. I was like, yeah, obviously they're making money. Duh.
Yeah, they are.
Every crowd has a silver lining. Not cloud. Every crowd has a silver lining. There's money to be made. Duh. It's the world we live in. But at the same time, it's good stories. It's good quality.
And there's nothing wrong with it.
No, not at all.
To keep more Star Wars content, they have to make money to do more.
Absolutely.
Guess what, guys? You have to consume it to get more.
I love how you always bring that up. It's a business. It's a business. Disney is a corporation, and we eat this stuff up. And you know, they have to pay for what we consume, right? They have to pay for this stuff. And if they want to make high quality stuff, they have to spend a lot of money on it, and they're happy to do it because we're eating it up. And you know, and I think, Drew, you hit the nail on the head, man. I think you have to be smart with what you bring in. Like Mortis might have been too much. It was probably a good call to not go that route. It probably was. But you know, I remember. Never mind. That was a different thing. But yeah, I think what they're doing with, for instance, the Darksaber and with Ahsoka, I think they did that really well because you get the gist of it. Like within the story, you just know Ahsoka as the Jedi that Din is searching for. Within the show, you just see the Darksaber and think, "Oh my gosh, that is cool. What is that?" And that's fine, right? But if you know what it is, it's even more fine, right? It's really cool. And so I think
Cobb Vanth was a book character. I'd never read the book.
Absolutely. Yep.
So I think you made the point, or maybe it was in our conversation with Lore Seeker one time, people that have already seen this are being rewarded.
Yeah.
Like Black Chrysanthemum and Book of Boba Fett is actually a way they did it perfectly with Black Chrysanthemum and some things like that. It's like, I didn't know who Black Chrysanthemum was.
Same.
Oh, he's a comic book character. People who read that were stoked out of their minds. I just see a big cool Wookiee and like, oh dang, that's awesome. And then I learned he has a backstory and I need to go learn about it.
That's exactly what happened with me too.
I think we're on the same page here. It's like they need to be careful about what they do, but the way they've done it so far has been super good. And it's another reason to get into the animation, which is the whole point here. It's another great reason to get into animation, so you can be rewarded by seeing these things come to fruition on the screen. Like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome, you know?
Speaking of which,
in turn, like I said, then get into video games if you haven't. Get into books if you haven't. Get into comics if you haven't.
There's so much.
I've never had a desire or a big, like, I've never been a comic book person. I'm not like against it. I've just never, it's just something that's never like, I don't know, spoke to me for some reason. But ever since Star Wars stuff, and especially like Drew was saying, the Book of Boba Fett, and the more Drew and Curry and different people talk about different stories, I'm like, I want this Star Wars.
Yep. Same. And I actually bought my first comics. They're back there. And I read the first one and it was great. And and it's War of the Bounty Hunters. I bought it in preparation for the Book of Boba Fett. Turns out I didn't really need it, but I'm really excited to get into those. And I think y'all are hitting it right on the head. Basically, this stuff is all they're doing a great job of introducing these characters that we've taken from animation, that we've learned about in animation, and translating them really well for the vast majority of the time into live action. They're doing a great job of that, and again, not leaving anyone in the dust. Like, Drew, we had the exact same experience with Black Chrysanthemum. Like, I was like, who is that? That is amazing. And but so many people were freaking out. Like, actually not even so many. The small percentage of people who knew who that character was were going absolutely bonkers because they knew who that was. And by the way, how cool would it be to get Black Chrysanthemum in an animated show sometime?
That'd be pretty cool. You can do a lot more with them in animation.
Let's see that. I would love to see Black Chrysanthemum in animated form. So okay, guys, let's well, this has been a great conversation. I want to wrap up with one question. And Jessica, I don't know if you're going to like this question. But let's just see. I want to know what your favorite animated Star Wars show is and why. And do y'all want me to go first so you can think, or do you have it? And
what if I had my answer ready right now?
If you have your answer ready now, I want you to go.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Clone Wars because I like variety. Not to say Rebels doesn't have variety or Bad Batch doesn't have variety, but those two shows are kind of founded in Clone Wars, and Clone Wars is founded in the movies. And there is so much in Clone Wars. There's stuff people love. There's stuff people don't love. There's stuff in the middle. There's stuff people hate. And there's stuff that's absolutely incredible that we can all agree upon, like the Zillow Beast being great. I'm kidding.
Yeah, all of us.
Oh, really? So you have the stuff with the clones, which is just, it makes you watch the movies differently, thinking, oh my gosh, they're not just CT7567 or 75. I mean, they're not just CT5555. Like, they're not just these numbers. They have, like, the Jedi have learned them and like been with them and given them nicknames, and there's so much depth there. It makes Order 66 that much harder to watch. You know, it gives you so much depth.
It does.
You have the stuff with the Jedi. You have the stuff with Ahsoka and Mace Windu being a beehole, and you have all the stuff that goes on with Anakin and Obi-Wan. You have Cad Bane. You have the bounty hunter stuff. You have all these adventures. You have Jar Jar with a duck girlfriend. I mean, you knew I was going to bring it up. You have all this stuff, and it's packed into this and
weird other huts.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And yeah. Oh, Vero the Hut. We love Vero. That was my first ever time to impersonate him. Don't judge me. You have deep like deep lore with like the mysticism and things we know about the Force.
Yeah.
Like you're introduced to like how did Qui-Gon learn to commune beyond the grave, and how did he pass it on to other Jedi? And you just have all these incredible things. There's so much in that show, and when you look at it, it's like it's only 7 seasons.
Yeah.
And 6 and 7 are super short. And yeah, there's some kid stuff in there, but it's just so good top to bottom, and there's just so much in there. It's like a Chinese buffet. That's my comparison, because I could really go for a Chinese buffet right now, especially when you go to the ones that has like a little pizza over here and a little fried catfish here, because it's got the variety.
Pizza at a Chinese buffet.
Yeah,
I'm really concerned about the
pizza when I see it.
I'm really concerned about the Chinese. I think I got food poisoning just thinking about it.
It's better than like the school cafeteria pizza.
I'm really concerned
about.
Yeah,
well, Michael and I didn't eat school cafeteria pizza.
I used to eat
my cafeteria was my mom's food.
Yeah, it was homemade, home fresh.
Oh my god, Jess, what is your favorite? If you've thought of it, if you've been able to come up with it.
Okay,
this love ranking things.
So hard for me.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna go with my gut here.
Do it.
I love Clone Wars so much because I love Anakin and I love his character, but I'm gonna have to pick Rebels.
Great answer.
I'm so
just
proud.
Just because, like, everything Drew said, I love Clone Wars. I love it. It's so good. But I think I would pick Rebels because it's shorter. And I feel like even though it's shorter, it's so much deeper and it still has so many ties to so many things in Clone Wars and all of the other things. And it obviously sets up even more to my favorite, the original A New Hope. So I don't know. That's so hard for me to pick, but
I know.
I would have to pick right now Rebels if I had to pick, just because I don't know. I feel like Clone Wars, like I said, I've already said this, it's just really deep. And Clone Wars is really deep too. And it might be the world between worlds that just makes me like that just little extra something different about the Force that just intrigues me. And I really enjoy them telling stories of how the Empire like builds its empire, like that's very fascinating to me. It's a little bit even more fascinating, I think, than the Republic battling the Separatists. Yeah. I don't know.
I love it. I'm happy you said Rebels because well, I love the Clone Wars too. I love the Clone Wars so much because of everything you said and Drew said. All of that's accurate in my mind as well. And I do think that the Clone Wars is really deep in other ways. And I love that at the beginning of each episode, you have like a theme / lesson on the screen and it applies to the episode. And you get to, it kind of like clues you in on what the thematic, language of the episode is going to be. And you can kind of see that play out. I love that.
I'm totally interrupting you about that because it makes me think of like when we were little, like a fable or something, and there's always like a moral. I feel like it's
absolutely
the moral for the episode.
It is, and I love those. Every time it pops up, I love it.
Cookies.
Yeah, exactly. And so those are great, and it does enhance the prequel movies to me. And it specifically like what it does for Order 66 and the good soldiers follow orders and all that, and how it makes me. I'm actually about to like convince myself into picking the Clone Wars, but the way that it humanizes the clones, how we learn to love these individual clones as different people was a true like feat storytelling wise. Rex is one of my favorite Star Wars characters and he's a clone. They did that. Like they made us care about this individual clone, and that's just brilliant. And so all those things, and it ended in like superb fashion. Absolutely incredible. I also love the Bad Batch. It's not on the level of these other two. I mean, it's only one season in. It could get there one day maybe, but for me, I love the Bad Batch because of kind of everything. It's similar to the Clone Wars, obviously in animation style, but I also just love the way that they are telling stories as well. But ultimately for me, and I've talked, like I talked about it earlier, for me, Star Wars comes down to characters. And if I am absolutely drawn to characters and sucked into and caring about characters, that is going to be the thing that hooks me more than lore, more than even even more than super intricate written plot and story. If you have good characters, you have got most of the puzzle done for me. And for me, I find the character work in Rebels to be absolutely incredible. And I cared about Ezra and Kanan and Hera, and then like right out of the gate, I cared about all three of them in the first episode. And then I got to care more about Zeb, and I got to care more about even Chopper, and I got to care more about Sabine. I got to care more about all of them as the show went on, because I do feel like they were a little bit less fleshed out at the very beginning. But as the show goes on, I love Kanan so much. Kanan is he became like literally a top 5 Star Wars character for me. And I named my son Kanan, and it's spelled like Kanan, like in this show. I love everything that he brings to the word Jedi, everything that he brings to the table as a Jedi and as a master that is so rare in a Jedi. He's so different for a Jedi, but he still has the best parts of being a Jedi. And I love Hera so much. She is such a deep character that I feel for, and I love any episode where we get to go back to Ryloth and see her relationship with her father, and her even in the Bad Batch, her episodes there, like as a kid. I love all that stuff so much. And I don't know, Rebels just did it for me, like on a different level than even the Clone Wars did, and then the Bad Batch did. And so for me, it's Rebels, and it's completely because of the characters in this family, and how it's so Star Wars. And not only that, but we also got iconic moments where, whether it's Ahsoka versus Vader, and Vader like you hear Anakin through the mask, and he says
Helicopter
Ahsoka.
lightsabers.
Oh my gosh, that moment is so good. Or you have, we don't speak of the Saber copters here. Ooh,
I just did.
I love that. But or you have the Maul versus Obi-Wan in Twin Sons, that iconic fight, or like what Maul wishes was a fight, and it was just a school lesson from Obi-Wan, and he killed him. Absolutely brilliant. Iconic moments like that. I love this show so much. And so for me, Rebels is my favorite of the 3. And obviously Resistance, so of the 4. But
Forces of Destiny. Woo!
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one too.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Never seen it. But that's not a tier 1 animation show, whatever. But man, okay, this was a really fun conversation.
Yeah.
Jess, what's going on?
Sorry, I think Zoe bumped my mic and made a really loud noise.
Oh, you're fine. It's all good. Man, okay, this was a really fun episode. I am going to go to the chat here. We have just a few comments that I want to read, and they're all from Jack. And so I want to read them, and then we'll get out of here, all right?
Woo.
All right, so first Jack says, Ventress was one of my favorite animated characters, other than Bane in Rebels. What was one of my favorite animated, other than Bane in Rebels? Rebels had some of the best storylines I found throughout Star Wars. I totally agree. I loved the storyline of Rebels as well as the characters. Jack says Rebels hit me emotionally more than any other Star Wars show. Even animated, it was just everything with Kanan and Ezra hit so hard with the relationship. The family aspect of Rebels got me hooked. I completely agree. Rebels, I am so much more emotionally invested in those characters for something about the way they're written and the relationship that they have. When Kanan died, I literally, this past rewatch, I put off finishing season 4 for like 3 weeks because I wasn't prepared emotionally to go through that again. And that episode and the following episode where they're all dealing with the fallout of losing Kanan, oh God, it's so hard for me to watch. And what happens with Ezra after that too. It's so powerful. I completely agree. What do y'all think about the emotional weight of Rebels?
Top tier.
Yeah.
It's so good. I mean, it's just as emotional as any live action, for sure.
Yeah.
And heavy.
If not more so,
yeah.
Honestly. Oh, man, so good. Jack says, my daughters and I binged Rebels in a weekend. That's amazing.
That's impressive.
He says, we actually didn't watch the Clone Wars or Rebels until the Mandalorian Ahsoka episode. That's amazing.
That's when Holly asked me to watch Rebels. It was because of seeing Ahsoka. And she was like, she's cool. It's like, we got to learn about her. So we started with Rebels rather than Clone Wars. But I feel like you can work backwards and it'll still be just fine.
Yeah, you can. You can totally. With any of this stuff, it's like, if you watch from here, you'll miss out on this, but you get this. But if you watch from here, you miss out on this, but you get this. You pick your poison.
It'll be cool in retrospect watching Ahsoka.
Yeah. And one more from Jack. He says Jedi Knight, which is the episode that Kanan dies. Jedi Knight just crushed me in Rebels.
I think after I watched that one, I just sent you a sad face. I was just like, because you knew I was about to watch it. I was just like,
yeah. I remember that, and I remember you sending me that, and I was like, I know what he just watched.
Yep.
I know what just happened to him. Oh my gosh, y'all. I love Star Wars animation. I love these shows so much. In fact, after this conversation, I'm like even more pumped to rewatch the Clone Wars, and maybe Rebels again.
I'm like slowly going through Rebels again.
It's so.
And I'm waiting for one of my friends to get to season 6 of Clone Wars, because 6 and 7 we're gonna watch together.
Awesome. I love in Clone Wars in season 6 has 2 of the best arcs ever. In the one with Fives, where you learn about the chip and all that stuff.
Oh man!
In Order 66, and then also the Yoda Arc. It's so good. It's so cool and weird too. And then also the Jar Jar. The Jar Jar.
That was Dave Filoni's big middle finger to Cartoon Network for canceling the show.
He was like, look what you're missing out on.
Or he was like, look what he's like, if y'all cancel our show, I'm going to, I saw a meme of this. It was like, if you cancel our show, like in the middle of season 6, I'm going to make an episode where it is canon that Jar Jar has a romantic relationship. And like, you wouldn't do that. And he did. And they are very, very explicit about telling you that's what's going on there. So that was his big old see you later to Cartoon Network.
Oh God, it's so good. It's so weird. So freaking weird.
So this is kind of off topic, but Rebels related.
Okay.
Is it really confirmed the casting for Ezra?
Nothing has been confirmed. There's not been a confirmation.
That's what I thought, but I've seen things floating around.
No.
That the casting is confirmed. I'm like, I don't think it is.
It's not. If it's not from Lucasfilm, it's not actually confirmed.
I just wanted to make sure that I was thinking the right.
No. You're talking about Mina?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which I think he'd be great. I love that.
I agree.
I believe that that it's not been confirmed, but I believe that like that has come out from a few at least semi-reliable sources. So I think that could happen. We just haven't gotten confirmation. Also, that from around that same rumor mill, there was the rumor that oh crap, the guy that voiced Thrawn in the show, blanking Mikkelsen, Lars, I think Lars Mikkelsen, is apparently, at least according to this rumor, he has been cast as live action Thrawn as well. And if you look at him, I think he would be like slightly different looking, but he looks like he'd be great. And he's a great actor too, which is more important to me. And so I think that he would be amazing if they actually did cast him too. So, man, I love the idea of that, but I hope those are real. We'll see. But they're not, none of those are actually confirmed. So we'll see. Do y'all have anything to add to this conversation before we head out?
I mean, I think we covered it well. You know, there's great reasons to watch animation.
Yeah.
The only thing that I didn't hit on that I really wanted to was how good the music is.
Yep.
Specifically in Clone Wars. Like Kevin Kiner,
man.
If they said tomorrow he was going to score one live action, I'd say go for it, buddy. That's awesome. You know. You deserve it.
He does.
I mean, from that aspect alone, the acting, the storytelling. I mean, I think it checks all the boxes for what you need to have for story. I mean, for a good show.
Yeah.
And a good show. I just said that twice. It's been a long day, but yeah, it checks all the boxes.
I repeat myself all the time. It's fine.
Whether you're into the voice acting, the characters, the storytelling, the music, the plot, it checks all the boxes for what you need for a good show. So I absolutely give them a shot, if anything, just to have a good time, even if you're not wanting to expand your knowledge. So,
yeah. And totally. I'm going to put, by the way, at the beginning of this episode, I totally forgot to say something. I'm going to put in post that there are spoilers in this conversation for things that happen in animated series. So, because I've definitely rattled off some really big spoilers. But one thing here from Jack, this is a great question, and this is not uncommon for someone to get confused by. Jack says, isn't Lars Mikkelsen Galen Erso? Am I thinking of the wrong guy? It is Mads Mikkelsen is Galen Erso in Rogue One, and it is Lars's brother. They are brothers, and so
I was going to assume they're related with a name like that.
They are, and if you look at them, you can tell they're definitely brothers. And it would be really cool to get both of them in Star Wars at some point. And so
I mean, they are. It's not live action yet.
Oh, he totally looks like Thrawn.
True. I just did it, Jessica. I just did it. I treated animation like it wasn't real Star Wars.
You.
I'm so sorry, everybody.
Oh,
Lars Mikkelsen totally looks
I'm the problem.
Another thing to add, I don't think they've come out and said what happened, but I've seen on Instagram that Matt, who voices Anakin, had a accident of some sort.
Yes, he had to have
emergency surgery. So just prayers and thoughts and whatever,
vibes and all the things. Absolutely. I don't know what happened.
I know they would appreciate prayers. I know that's his thing.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. I'm glad you said that, because I didn't even think about it. I'm so glad you did.
Yeah, I just saw that today, and I saw that Ashley, who voices Ahsoka, had shared some stuff about it. So
yeah,
hopefully he's okay. I know he has a little girl. His wife seems to be really sweet and cool too. So
yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Jess. I totally forgot about that. All right, guys. Well, I guess that's where we're going to end today. Again, if you've made it through this entire show, thank you so much for joining us. And like always, if you are in the chat right now, and if you are listening to this episode, I want to ask you a favor. Please go to our podcast feed on Apple or wherever you listen. If you can leave a rating or review on any of those places, we would really appreciate more ratings and more reviews on there to kind of get us seen by more people. That would be amazing, and it would be really helpful to us. So Jack, I know you're in here. If you haven't already done it before, I'm calling you out right now. If you haven't done it before, that would be awesome. If you could go just leave us a rating and a review on on that. And obviously, if you're listening and you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel, or please subscribe to the podcast, and also the YouTube channel. We do have a YouTube channel, and that link will be below as well. And follow us on Twitter and social media. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram as well. And all that info is also going to be below in the info. Drew, Jess, thanks for joining us tonight. This is really fun. Again, be on the lookout. We're going to have a fun episode later this week. But any last words before we go?
If you think
follow our
animated
Instagram.
stuff-
Michael's beating me.
But I am in charge of the Twitter, and Jess is over the Instagram.
And he has put more time than me, I have to say that, into the Twitter than the Instagram.
Maybe too much, probably.
But
with the Twitter.
I don't like that it's getting so different numbers wise. So go follow the Instagram.
Yeah, seriously, go follow our Instagram. Jess is doing a great job over there.
I'm trying.
I have two things to leave us with.
Yes.
Number one, if you think that just because something is animated that it's not canon, then you got a problem with me and you should let that marinate. Number two, if you have taken my side and bashing these two for not liking the Zillow Beast and you like monster stuff, go check out my Twitter and I'll point you in some direction of some cool content. Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Oh my gosh, Drew. That's amazing. Oh my gosh. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, may the force be with you always.